You're back in with the Radio Artist Showcase. Right now we're showcasing the one and the only Stacey Joseph. Back in with us. How you doing?
I'm good. You and that one and the
The
only.
one and
So funny.
I'm right though, aren't I? Are there other Stacey Josephs out there running around somewhere that we don't know about?
There could be.
Boy, that would be funny. Anyway, we just heard from her singing with Sound of the New Breed, and the title of that song is Everything. Actually, when we stopped off the last time, we was talking about this project that I guess it's your first project.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it considered a full-length project or what? Talking about a prayer time.
It has 9 tracks on it, and it's worship melodies and prayers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's intended for devotional time. You know, I've heard people say that they use it to kind of start their day, and every now and then I actually listen to it. But I think it's something that can kind of carry. It's only 40 minutes. It's good for a commute, you know, from home to work.
Right.
To kind of get your day going. Good stuff, I think.
So what made you start off with this type of CD instead of just launching right up into what you have now, which is I Believe?
You know, honestly, I felt like I needed something to pray to.
Mm-hmm.
And not that there weren't, you know, other prayer or devotional type projects out, but it's just what I felt that I was supposed to do. And quite frankly, people had some questions about that. You know, like why would you put out a CD like this? It's not musical. It's very simple, but I don't know. It felt like somewhat of an assignment for me.
Right.
It was something that I had to offer back to God, and yeah, so I did it, and I was paying for it, so I could.
So you could do that.
Hello.
Well, you know, that's something interesting that you said. You said it is simple, and I have the project, and you're right, it is. It's very simple. It's nothing complicated. Even the music that is played behind your voice, very simple.
Just piano.
So do you think, in using that, do you think we complicate worship a lot of times just being, and when I say worship, let's talk in terms of like a worship leader.
Okay.
And do you think it becomes complicated to the point that we lose the essence of what we really need to be doing?
Well, I think in different settings, when you think of Sunday morning worship, the congregation can be comprised of varying of people. It could be, you know, an older generation, a younger generation. It could be Caucasian. It could be African American. You got all these cultures, all these different
Dynamics.
Dynamics in a service. I think as a worship leader, you have to consider not only the content, but sometimes the style too. And all those factors should be considered when developing what that sound's going to be on a Sunday morning. Okay. Now, when you think about music that people are just listening to, like say for instance, prayer time, maybe a couple of those songs you could do on a Sunday morning. You could present them because that content it's very simple. It's singable. People can connect with it. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say "Show Me Who I Am," which is on I Believe.
Right.
That ain't for Sunday morning.
Okay.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think as a worship leader, you have to consider, well, we just did Worship 101, but you have to consider the type of house you're in, you know, what is being said and how you want people to connect with that. You don't want to lose people in a moment. Am I answering your question?
In a roundabout way.
Yeah, well, you asked me about being a worship leader, and I automatically go to Sunday morning.
I can feel that, because that's your passion, right?
Right.
So, yeah, but it's good the answer you gave. And the thing that I was looking for is, you know how sometimes it can just be full of a bunch of words till you lose the essence of who you're actually singing to. Songs that seem to be a little over complicated, and it not just being simple. Let's make this thing vertical.
Well, yeah, I mean, it can be vertical. I think with now we're going to disagree on air, but
no,
it can be vertical with a lot of words. I think you have to determine the intent. Prayer time is for the purpose of prayer. We don't need a lot of help with that.
Okay.
We don't need bass lines to get in the way of people praying. We don't need it to be too musical, in my opinion, because it's intended for them to hear those prayers, connect. It's very peaceful. You feel the spirit of peace when you listen to it.
Right.
But the intent of that record is prayer.
Okay.
It's for the purpose of prayer.
And it's more so for an individual prayer? Just your personal prayer time is what you're saying. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, I got you. I got you now. Now we're together.
Okay. I want y'all to invite me back.
No, nothing like that.
I'm
but, and just thinking about, whenever we think about going into that prayer time, our own personal prayer time, were you dealing with something at that time? Was there something that was on your heart, something that you were going through? Because, a lot of times people will release an album, probably some type of experience that they've been through. Was prayer time anything like that, or was it just like you said, you just needed something that you could pray to, and prayer time was birthed from that?
Yeah. I think it part of it was, I make jokes about my times of consecration, just about all the fast I chose to be on. I should be a fast too, but
okay,
that's kind of where my life was at that time. Just intimacy with God, and not that I don't try to live a consecrated life. So
you
now.
say you just like, look, God, I got me in the album now.
No, but you know what? If we're honest, people don't want to say that you have a prayer time record, and sometimes you don't feel like praying. But I'll say that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I do have a prayer time record, and sometimes I don't feel like praying.
Ooh, church.
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
what kind of interview is this gonna be?
Oh my good, church. Oh my goodness. No, I'm just playing. But I mean, that's real talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just look. That's just gut bucket truth. And if everybody would be
bucket.
Okay, I'm from the country. Okay?
Gut bucket truth.
That's a gut bucket truth.
Wow.
Anyway, if we would just be honest and say there are times when we don't feel like spending that extra, but it's just probably like a feeling or a season, things that we have to press through. But from the onset, you may not be in that. You may not be in the mood like, okay, God, I'm gonna spend time with you. But I'm sure as you just start praying and as you're going on, it comes up, right?
Sometimes. Maceo,
okay.
Sometimes, and then other times, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because there are times that you pray, and I think part of that is, now this is, I'm sure your interview wasn't planning to go right here.
No, go ahead.
Part of that is, as you mature, I believe, in God, certain things are not about a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not praying because I need to feel better. I'm praying because I have a need to connect with God, whether I feel something while I'm praying or not. And that is the growth pattern that we go on. So, yeah, I got a prayer time record, but sometimes I don't feel like praying at all. But sometimes I yell out some words because I need to communicate with the Lord.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's good. That's life.
Sure.
Really. Life happens.
Yeah.
And we have to know what like looking at.
Yeah. I agree with all that.
Life happens. So, yeah, we have to, and those are the things that we have to know. And we have to be honest with people, especially those who may have just given their life to the Lord. Mm-hmm. You may get down on your knees and you don't feel nothing, not one thing. Mm-mm. But it doesn't mean that the Father isn't near. And this is one thing that I found out. I was maybe about 7 or 8 years ago.
Did you just do that like preacher tap? You just tapped me like the preacher.
Stacey.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Jesus. Anyway, I did it again.
Yes, you did. Tap, tap. That's the bishop's tap.
About 6 or 8 years ago, somewhere in between that time frame, I had took a vacation. I went up to the mountains, and I'll be the first to tell you I'm not a big, heavy reader. But while I was there, I was going by Best Buy. I just wanted to go look at some electronics. But there was a Barnes & Noble that was beside it, so I just decided to go in there. And I went in there and I found a book that was I don't remember the exact title, but it was talking about how we connect with God. And in this book, it talks about how there are some who feel the closest to God whenever they're engaged in some type of spiritual warfare. You have that person who just loves to evangelize, and that is their connection with Him. But it also talks about the person who can just go out in nature, and it's like they just start hearing from God like nothing. And I was, at that time, I was frustrated in my walk with the Lord because it felt like there was no longer that type of intimacy that I had with him. And I started reading that book, and when it started talking about that person who can just go out into nature, and it's like they just started hearing from God, and they can just hear the voice of God, and God just started speaking to them. That was me. And I was down in the country at my grandma's house. One weekend I spent the night. At this time I was still in Charlotte. And I was sitting out on the porch. It was about 11:20 that night. And in the country, you're going to see stars because it's pitch black everywhere else. But it started raining. And while it was raining, with so many trees around, I started to hear this sound that I had never heard before. And it was the sound of a big applause. It was like I was in this arena, and people were just putting their hands together, clapping and applauding, and I heard the sound. And whenever I heard the sounds, it was actually the rain that was trickling through the trees. But the sound sounded like a big applause. And God started speaking to me in that. And I sat on that porch and cried that night.
Wow.
Because for so long, and it had been months, I had just felt like I was dry in my relationship with him and my prayer life. But that one night, after reading that one thing about connecting with God through being in nature, being in surroundings that reminded me of that one night, it was like things just broke in me.
Sure.
So we have to be mindful not to get caught up into those feelings.
Right.
Of, well, God isn't hearing me. No, he's hearing.
Yeah.
He could have just, okay, I want you to pursue me now. Come closer.
Yeah, but and meditation is a form of prayer too. Sometimes we get so caught up in the way that it should go or the way that we've seen it go when God may want to speak to us in different ways. So I believe that prayer time is the type of CD that can help a person who is maybe a non-believer that's coming to know the Lord. I believe it can help somebody who's just developing their prayer life. I believe it can help, the greatest prayer warrior and intercessor,
right,
kind of continue in their prayer journey. I mean, I might be biased, but I think it's a pretty good CD.
I would be honest with you. I'm not saying it just because you're here, but it is. It's one of the CDs that I pray by. And like you said, it's a good 40 minutes of just worship. Yeah. And I mean, it really puts you in the mood for prayer. It's very meditative. And I would recommend that if you're already sleepy, don't put it in. You're going to get messed up. Because it really calms you. I mean, I'm being real. I put it in one day after work, and this CD brought me down to just this place of calmness. So, since we're talking about the CD, let's hear a song from it. This song is entitled My Desire. What's the background behind this one?
Actually, one of the guy that's playing piano, his name's Gilbert McFarland, and he wrote this song. It is the first song that he ever wrote.
Wow.
How cool is that?
That's cool.
Yeah. And so it resonates with people because I think it's from his heart and it touches theirs.
Wow. So check it out, everybody. This is My Desire from Stacey Joseph, Prayer Time CD. You need some more information about it. It's on the website, staceyjoseph.com. We're going to come back in just a little while. We're going to get a little bit more up close and personal with the artist, Stacey Joseph.
Gut bucket truth.
When we even try to, you are so faithful.